everyone, it's Norm. And every Tuesday afternoon, 3 to 5 Central, I'm coming right at you here on WRLR. Let's share some information. Have lots of fun. We'll play plenty of music as we finish the business day in the office or take the drive home. Stream the net, WRLR.FM. 98.3 FM is the voice of Lake County on the radio dial. Join Norm Tuesdays, 3 to 5, right here on WRLR.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing, but not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. This breaks my heart, and it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and gives it to families in need. To help, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Getting a flu shot helps us stay healthy, so we don't miss out on what matters. Like that family movie night your daughter can't live without. Yeah, can't do that. Every year, millions of people in the U.S. get the flu. Especially now, no one has time to miss out on moments that matter. So get your flu shot. Find out more at getmyflushot.org. Brought to you by the AMA, CDC, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to 98.3 FM, WRLR LP, Round Lake, Illinois.
You don't know how you met me, you don't know why you can't turn around and say goodbye. All you know is when I'm with you, I make...
Good evening, welcome into the Lake County Sports Scoop, show that gives you great details, especially when it comes to high school sports. We got Carson Beck in studio along with Rob Cartwright, our intern. I'm Rusty Silber. Hope everyone's enjoying their Monday evening for the second Monday on the new year, believe it or not. It's hard to get used to that, but just as much as trying to get used to when you haven't seen anybody to start the new year and you're already 10 days in or 9 days in, hey, Happy New Year. And I feel like, wait, New Year's was like 10 days ago, guys. Why do we keep saying it? Because you haven't seen people. So, hey, good evening, guys. How you doing, Carson?
Doing good, Rusty. I want to start a new tradition in the new year with this day in sports history. You want to know what happened in this day in sports history, Rusty?
I guess. What are you throwing out?
Super Bowl 11, Raiders defeat Vikings in Super Bowl 11. John Madden earns his first title in Pasadena, California, 32-14. Hold on. And it falls in line perfectly because time last year, I saw my first Raiders game at Allegiant Stadium, 35-32 in overtime against the Los Angeles Chargers, and that was the same night that the Madden family got to light the Al Davis torch in remembrance of John Madden when he passed away. Maybe it was the sports gods making something special happen, but I'll never forget that moment. That was a beautiful moment to see. They did it for Madden, so that was a very emotional roller coaster for Raider Nation.
You know, I got these emotions of excitement for some National League Championship game tonight. Must be Frogs against Bulldogs, or is that Bulldogs against Frogs? I'm not sure which way that goes. Oh, wait, that's supposed to be the Horned Frogs. I got it wrong. I definitely got it wrong.
Well, I know Barstool, Iowa endorsed TCU because Max Duggan is an Iowa native, so I think TCU is going to take it.
Hey, let's say hi to Rob over here. Hey, Rob, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I just want to make sure that you're enjoyed your weekend and you're enjoying yourself here today.
I did.
You did? I know you're a big Cowboy fan, and yes, they made the playoffs, and they're getting a scary look in front of them with Tampa. I get that.
I mean, I'm just excited I get to watch my team in the playoffs.
Well, Rusty, he got to enjoy the weekend with you at Vernon Hills High School, and we saw a thrilling matchup between the Niles North Vikings and the Vernon Hills Cougars.
All right. Well, I'm glad you're jumping into it already, Carson. You really want to jump into basketball, don't you?
What made it fun is them having only one side of the bleachers open, and it made the noise and atmosphere sound much more impactful than it would be if they spread everyone out. So it was kind of cool hearing both fan bases on the same side. Niles North traveled well, but it was a great battle.
We're going to get into that stuff a little bit later. Is that if I find you with you?
Maybe. We'll see.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying. I mean,
maybe
there are some other sports that we've got to talk to. And by the way, first off, I want to give a shout out to, believe it or not, the Carmel Corsairs who took first place at the Strauss Invitational this weekend in girls gymnastics. Very popular gymnastic meet. They had 11 teams that were there. Vernon Hills was second in that mix. So shout out to them. I think Warren took third. So all Lake County teams all on top there. Very good gymnastics. A lot of good gymnasts. We're going to catch up with some of these teams in the next couple of weeks. We got some time to do that. But shout out to all three of those teams, taking first, second, and third at the Strauss Invitational at Lake Forest High School. That was on Saturday afternoon. When you get into January, that's when you start getting more of the invitationals for the girls. And you got the meets that are going on throughout the week, but the invitationals everyone looks at. And believe it or not, I hate to say it, they're going to have conference meets and regionals coming up by the end of this month and early February. It comes up quick. And that's what brings up to the next topic of discussion is going to be boys bowling, believe it or not. This is the first sport that already they're starting to look at the state series. Believe it or not, you're like, wow, how come they start so early? Well, because they started at the end of October, early November, somewhere in there. And believe it or not, they came back from break and they had their conference meet already this past week. While everybody was on break on Friday, they had a conference meet with everybody in the North Suburban. Like, wow, that was quick. And I kind of caught this over the weekend and heard from Cody Mathias, and I'm like, oh, wow, you guys won the conference meet in the North Suburban, which is very competitive. It's very good bowling. And don't forget, Stevenson, I got to throw this out, won the state in 2016. And ever since then, they have been knocking on the door for the postseason, getting close with the chance of making it to state once again. And they're close, but it's hard sometimes to get there because they have to compete against some awfully good schools. When I say awfully good, not around here just, but the ones that they have to compete by the time they get to sectionals, the ones that are sitting out in Rockford. Okay? What else do you have to do in the wintertime?
For those who don't
watch the Ice Hogs bowl, and that's about it in Rockford.
For those who don't know, Rusty, do schools have a bowling alley at their school, or do they go to a local bowling alley? Explain that for those who don't know.
Well, I was going to say, if you find any bowling alleys at a school, I want to know about it because I've never heard that before.
Yeah, Libertyville, we just went to a
you go
local
to
bowling alley.
Yeah, Libertyville goes in Lakeside, and some of them were part of AMF, which is now Bolero out in Hawthorne Shopping Center. They go to various establishments within the area. And it's not cheap either. Not at all, because the cost of bowling is a little bit higher than what it used to be. But some of the bowling alleys aren't staying open, so it's hard to get everybody out there. Bowling has really gone up, I should say, with a lot of the programs. Believe it or not, I just caught, I was looking through some information. Zion Benton has a boys bowling team this year. And I don't recall them having one, so this is kind of new. And the North Suburban has more teams in there. We've gotten more in the NLCC to have teams. I don't know if they had a conference meet. I did not hear exactly, but you've got about 4 teams there. So it's really growing in Lake County on the boys' side. Girls have had bowling themselves. They'll have their conference meets and regionals and sectionals coming up in the next couple of weeks. They are about 2 weeks behind the boys. But let's hear from Coach Cody Mathias. I caught up with him earlier this afternoon to talk about what had happened over the course of the weekend with the conference meet and where his team is at today. Now with the head boys bowling coach over at Stevenson High School, it's Cody Mathias with us. And first off, Cody, Happy New Year. How you doing?
Good. Thank you. Happy New Year to you as well. I'm doing well. Just, wrapping up the season.
Mm-hmm. Well, I got to throw congratulations out to you, too. You got the North Suburban Conference Championship again, which happened over the weekend. I mean, I can't believe it comes up that quickly, but boys bowling, you guys kind of are the first sport to get things rolling here.
Yeah, thank you for that. We're usually that first sport that starts in the last week of October, first week in November, and then we go on our winter break, and the next thing you know, the conference tournament just pops up out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll have to throw the pun in here. You knocked them down. You won the championship. What makes this team better than the last few years to take a championship?
Experience. We're led by a senior Ender Starr who's been in our program since a freshman. He was varsity all 4 years. Got cut 1 year because of COVID. Cut down a little bit there, but experience has definitely helped us out. Ender has been the leader all year score-wise. A junior Jackson Schur has really stepped up to be our true number 2 bowler. And then we have 3 or 4 that have stepped up. We've got a sophomore, and Jude Snyder, who has never, last year was his first year he ever bowled, and this year he's averaging about right around 190 to 200 in his second year of bowling, and he really stepped up to help us out.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like a great group. How's the program going from the COVID? Have you been able to get more bowlers as things come back to almost normal now?
So I would say last year, because I believe last year was the year right out of COVID, we had about 25 bowlers. I think everybody just wanted to get out and about and something after being stuck inside for so long. This year our numbers have gone down, but that's could be a bunch of different cases. We graduated a lot last year, but I think overall in the programs around us, I've seen numbers actually go up because they've been stuck inside and always wanted to do something, and it just shows how much sports really does help people help these kids, be a part of something. And that goes with the coaching, because there's great coaches around here, and just the kids in general. Just, they want to be a part of something.
Mm-hmm. Now, Cody, the conference, I know I looked at it throughout the year. Yes, I pay attention from the backdrop. It's hard to get information sometimes, but I've noticed it seemed like a very competitive and balanced type of league this year.
Yeah, definitely. This year, it was close going into our conference tournament. Between Lake Zurich, Libertyville, Mundelein, and ourselves, we go off of a point system, and going into our conference championship last Friday, between first and fourth was only 14 points. So it was very competitive. It made the conference tournament this year mean something. And it did. It went all the way. In the end, we ended up winning by quite a bit, but every game it meant something. And if you had a bad game, it could have changed anything.
Mm-hmm. When you talk about the competition, and, these boys are young, but yet they do have experience, how do you as a coach kind of install that in them to get them to go a little further, to get competitive value, able to beat the teams that they're going to be facing?
I would say a lot of it has to go back to last year and before, but just, if you're an athlete and you're in a sport, your ultimate goal should always be, you want to win a state title. And then you have these little benchmarks throughout the year. So, our goal was to win the conference tournament and the conference championship, because last year we struggled a little bit last year, but we ended up going into the conference tournament, and I unfortunately had to miss it due to COVID last year. Mm-hmm. And we actually were the underdogs going into it. Into Game 6, we were actually leading the conference in points, and we had a rough game, Game 6, and ended up finishing second. So they really wanted to get back on top. Some of our guys, they play multiple sports, so coming into the season, not a lot of bowling, but they picked it up right before. But just harnessing that drive that they wanted, and they wanted to be the best. So, instilling, if you want to be the best, you have to practice the best, and you have to make sure you take everything serious, because at any point you can be beaten. And it did show a couple times. We have 3 losses on the year. 2 of them came to Lake Zurich in close matches, but they pulled it out in the end. And with those losses, I think they helped us realize, as good as we are, we can be beaten, and it helped.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know you got the regionals coming up this weekend, start of the state series. How are you looking? I know you got all the confidence from the conference meet, but what's it going to be set up this weekend? It seems like you're playing a lot of the local teams before you get to sectional next week with, all those great Rockford schools or the other schools you got to deal with out of St. Charles. So what are you looking like this week?
This week, so it was actually a little bit of a shock. The past few years, we've actually been in South sectionals compared to getting to the Rockford sectional. But this week, it's gonna be a tough a tough regional with Lake Zurich in there. Grant is there. Mundelein, Libertyville. So it's gonna be a tough sectional, but showing these last couple days with the conference tournament and us winning that gives us a little bit of some momentum moving in, but it also gives us a target on our back as everybody's trying to beat us. Mm-hmm. So as long as our guys show up and we do what we've done all year, the pins will tell us where we're at, and obviously we're hoping to win it, but the ultimate goal is to be top 4 to move on to Rockford to take on the heavy hitters.
All right, Cody, I appreciate your time, and good luck, and we'll talk to you soon, all right?
All right, thank you very much, Rusty.
All right, there you go. Thank you, Cody Mathias, getting around his day as much as you can around school to make that interview work out. I will appreciate that. And hopefully the Patriots and who knows, a few other teams will be able to get by the regional this weekend. It's going to be at Lakeside Recreation Center in Mundelein. That's where they're going to have the regional, which will be 6 games is what they're going to bowl. It's a lot of games to bowl there. And typically they bowl 3. This is 6. They bowl 3 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon. And then you take the teams that qualify to move on with the other regionals in the sectional. I think it's 4 teams for each regional. Then advance on, so you have 12 teams total, and then you have individuals that get through as well for the teams that didn't get through, at least at that point. So that's the setup. And then if you can get by the sectional, the state, with all those really good Rockford schools, and I'm thinking like Rockford Hononegah, Rockford Boylan, Freeport, they're really good. Let me tell you, these guys have won state every year. McKesney Park, Harlem. If you can get by those schools, then you're looking at to be the top. And I've seen, to tell you the truth, I've seen usually the teams from our area make it to state. And usually the 6 teams that get there, 3 or 4 teams are battling in the top 6 spots because they're the best schools in the state.
You got to give credit to a sport like bowling. They were probably one of a few sports that were severely impacted by the pandemic. You know how difficult it was for a sport like bowling with contact tracing and all that stuff to finally play that sport? So it shows the level of resiliency as well as maybe even consistency to get back to this sort of winning level.
Mm-hmm. One thing that I found interesting the last couple of years was the fact that there were some bowling, remember, they did it virtually. Like they would be in their own house and they'd take a phone and bowl against the other team and then match the scores up. So they didn't go to different houses. That's what we noticed in the, and that was the same for gymnastics. I thought that was really interesting the way they did it to give the opportunity for these sports to work. It's a little different when you think about basketball and everything that we went through, but bowling still had a way to keep going. Now, one other thing that caught my thought here was the fact that Cody said that their numbers went up last year, but they went down this year. They had a lot of seniors that graduated. Because I asked, what's your program like? And they, you have to recruit. Yeah. These are the type of sports you got to recruit. Go down the hallway, hey, you want to bowl? But the sport of bowling has not been the same, whether it's boys or girls, in the last, I think, dozen years. It's gone down by the wayside. I mean, I think the year 2000, 2010, you got a great number of bowlers, especially on the boys' side. When they started in 2004, it was really big for a big number of years, and you got a lot of bowlers out there. You had those Saturday leagues and everything, the junior leagues. You don't find them anymore. There are not as many bowlers. Why? I hate to put it out there, the cost of bowling has gone up. That's part of the reason.
Rusty, is bowling similar to hockey, where like maybe multiple schools might like merge with one another to make their own team?
You don't see that on bowling. Gymnastics, yes, I've seen co-ops. Yeah. But the thing is, there are a lot of schools on the gymnastics side, they don't like that idea. Because is it fair for, a district to go through 3 schools to get gymnasts compared to, some schools that don't have the opportunity to have 2 or 3 schools? So there's a big little fight with that a little bit. And I've seen that problem. But then again, if you want to keep a team going, you can grab a couple of gymnasts from different schools in your district to keep it going.
I would never want to do that for gymnastics because there's a lot of areas where there's a whole bunch of club gyms, and if you pull all those together, that's like almost like the Avengers assembling.
Well,
it's very
that's
unfair.
what gymnastics is these days. A lot of times, it's the girls that, and there's nothing wrong with it. The girls that are part of the club gymnasts, they'll come over to the school that they go to. I mean, if you look at a lot of teams, they have a lot of club gymnasts. You get 2 or 3 of them, and you can really be good. I mean, Prairie Ridge does it.
That's how we won state for
Prairie Ridge had it between, to be honest, they get it from Crystal Lake South, they get it from Crystal Lake Central, and Prairie Ridge all together. You're getting from 3 schools, and they win the state how many years they've won it. And that's why a lot of people are very upset about that. So, all right, let's talk a little basketball. I'm excited for this. I know Rob and Carson and I were over at Vernon Hills on Friday. It was a good opportunity to see the Central Suburban North, see Vernon Hills, our first time to get them on the air. We did get Deerfield Highland Park a little bit earlier, about a month or so ago, so we decided to catch this one because the schedules have been kind of goofy coming off the holiday break. A lot of people talking about on Wednesday, playing Thursday, playing Friday, and all this. When we got this game here, and Rob, one thing we saw about this game is Vernon Hills was competitive, and they clawed their way back, but they just couldn't get the shots they needed down the stretch.
Yeah, and one thing that I really took note of is how when I came into when the game first started, I thought that Vernon Hills was going to take a lot more three-pointers, and that's why I thought they would struggle, is because if you're a very three-point dependent team, and we saw that in the Highland Park Deerfield game, you better hit those shots, because if you don't, the game's basically over for you. And they went away from that, and they were able to get good shots in the paint, and the threes that they did take, they were decent looks. They weren't forcing a whole bunch of threes. They were just taking what the defense gave them. So I think that's one big point of why they were able to stay competitive.
And also the leadership of Mr. Milan Raval scoring 20 points for Vernon Hills. He was definitely probably the most consistent player on Vernon Hills, but we definitely saw on Niles North side Mr. Hunter Gowron step up for the Vikings.
Well, you mentioned that Milan Rivas, he stepped up big because he only had 5 points in the first half. And we all were in agreement that he had to step up in the second half, and he did that. He definitely was the attacking player, the one that went to the basket and kind of led the charge for Vernon Hills. And the Niles North side of it, I mean, you mentioned Gowron. He's just a fantastic player. Probably should have scored 20-plus points and grabbed a bunch of rebounds, maybe a dozen rebounds if he was in the game enough, and if that's the way Glenn Olson wanted to see him do that. But what was it? Irby was the one that stepped up, and he put up 12 points in the fourth quarter. He was the mainstay guy that really stepped up for Niles North. But one other thing I noticed, and we talked about this too during the game, is the fact they were kind of like an individual-like team. But I give credit to Glenn Olson trying to keep this team molded to be a team that plays together, because they did that in the third quarter, and they worked the ball around to get good passing to find a good shot. So, and give credit where that's at, right, Rob? I mean,
yeah, I would say so, definitely.
Yeah, give credit to Vernon Hills. They were always within striking distance the whole game, definitely single digits. I don't think they had the lead ever, but they were definitely competitive the whole time.
I think they had the lead in the very beginning.
Yeah,
when it first started, they had a 6-point lead or something like that.
Yeah, they were down by a dozen points, and they clawed their way back within one
a few times.
And at the end of the game, in the final minute, they're within one, 47-46, and they tried to hit a couple threes, got a little desperate, couldn't get the three to go in, and then they had a foul of Niles North, and Irby stepped up to make 4 free throws to close the door.
Well, that also had halftime adjustments because they won the third quarter. to keep themselves in it in the fourth.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's hear from Coach Matt McCarty from Vernon Hills. He talked about the game. Not totally upset, but you could tell in his heart he wanted to win this game. Well, Coach, I know it's not the result you wanted, but a good fought battle you had down to the stretches of the final minutes. I mean, you got within one.
Yeah.
4 free throws, and they win the game by 5.
Yeah.
Great second half. I mean, how do you look back at this?
Yeah, I think I told the boys, we had 2 open threes, down 3 each time, with Dylan Chung in the corner and then Anthony Martirano at the top of the wing there. And I said, like, if I would have told you before the game with 40 seconds to go, we got a couple open threes to tie the game, would you guys like that position? They all nodded their head yes. So, in the first half, 21 was just killing us on the glass. So we dug ourselves a little bit of a hole, trying to defensive rebound, but we did a much better job. I think they had 11 offensive rebounds in the first half and only 4 in the second half. So we spent a lot of the halftime talking about how to clean up our defensive rebounding. So I was proud of the kids for that, and then just to keep battling. And the sophomore for Niles North, 24, did a nice job down the stretch. He's a really good player.
Yeah, Irby did a great job hitting those free throws at the end. I know you don't go by the name. You got his number. But Rivas did a great job in that second half. He only had 5 points in the first half. And we all know you got to get him into the offense somehow.
Yeah. And he was attacking a little bit more in the second half, and he went 7 for 8 from the free throw line. So, he was attacking, getting a foul a little bit, and he got 1 3 to go there in the second half, which really helped. But I like the way that we played, and we have kind of a quick turnaround with Buffalo Grove coming in on Monday. So I just told the boys, we just have to maintain what we did in the second half. It was a lot of good stuff for us. We did a much better job taking care of the basketball than we did in the past couple games, so we stressed that the last couple of days in practice. So I think we'll get there.
As I say, Niles North has so much strength, but it seems like it's more the individual play, but if they get in transition, they can really hurt you.
Yeah, and that was one of the things we worked on in practice the last couple of days, is making sure we had 2 or 3 guys back to stop their transition. And not only can they get out in transition, they can make threes out of transition. So that they provide a tough matchup in that sense. But for the most part, I thought we did a pretty good job in the full court defense.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of the defense, how much credit do you give to the guys that not only coming back but also limited them to some good buckets really towards the end of the game?
Yeah, I thought we did a nice job on Reed Olson, who's a really outstanding shooter, one of the best shooters on our side of the conference, and we did a good job. We know that he can really stroke it from the outside, so we did a good job on him, so that really helped. And I thought we were challenging shots around in the paint a little bit better in the second half too, and they didn't get as many easy ones right around the rim. So really proud of our defensive effort, and I thought it was a really well-played game by both teams tonight.
All right, thanks a lot, Coach.
Thanks for coming, guys.
All right, we do thank Matt McCarty for taking part in that interview. I got to give him credit too, because they played earlier in the week at the Pfizer Forum on Tuesday, and they losing that game 46-35. And you were saying it's awesome that they played there, but I know we've seen games like that at the United Center with Mundelein, and we've been up at the Pfizer Forum. But what an opportunity it is for the players to go up there, and I know both of these coaches try to give the opportunity for everybody to play.
Yeah, I know the kids will never forget that. Mm-hmm. That's just an awesome memory that'll live with you forever.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure you wanted to go up there too to see that game when you get a chance.
Yeah, I love going up to Pfizer Forum. I've been there a few times.
Oh, you've been there a few times.
I've been. Yeah, I used to go all the time. Every year when Milwaukee makes the playoffs.
Just add to the point if you were out there broadcasting on the the sidelines, especially when you're thinking of the Bulls playing there, and you got who was it, Chuck Swirsky was announcing, and he's on the sideline. That's where we'd sit, just so you know.
That's awesome.
Just the feeling of that. I mean,
I'd love to get
cool.
that opportunity.
Yeah, so it's just as cool as if we went there, or the fans went there. But these players on the court, you get a chance to shoot just like the NBA players.
Yeah, on the same court that Giannis is on. That's amazing.
I know when we went to Mundelein before the COVID hit, we were talking to like Connor Enright, Scotty Abube, all those players. What was it like to get out there and play on the court? And they're just all excited. I mean, I'm sure Scotty Abube would have told me, I would love to dunk out here. He never had a chance to do it, but we know he can dunk. But to get a dunk on the court, you'd be saying like, wow, I dunked at the same place as
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
But at the United Center.
Oh, at the United Center?
At the United Center. One of the Bulls players from a couple of years ago, talking 3 or 4 years ago. but the same place as one of the Bulls players.
Like
You know, it's funny, Rusty, that you brought up those two players. Did our Lake County listeners know that last week when the Drake Bulldogs and Southern Illinois Salukis played last week, that Mr. Scotty Abube of SIU got to reunite with his old high school teammate Connor Enright of Drake?
And they took a picture together, too, if you caught that on social media.
Right.
Social media, you can see that picture. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, I agree with that. Believe me, those are some great days when Enright and Abube and the Mundelein team and with Stevenson that year. Yes, I agree with you that I didn't get a chance to do that as of yet. Let's go through some of the scores from the weekend if we can. On Friday night, like I said, there wasn't many games. That was the only Central Suburban game that we had last week. On Friday night, everyone else didn't play much. East Suburban Catholic, Carmel fell to Joliet Catholic 60-48. Carmel's still looking for their first win in the highly competitive East Suburban. In the North Suburban Conference, on Friday night, they did have some matchups, and I guess some of these games went as expected. Lake Forest beat Lake Zurich 56-49. Stevenson got by Zion 51-38, which, by the way, Zion's still looking for their first win in conference play and for the season. And then also Warren beat Waukegan 59-42, which was reunion night, I understand. They brought back some of the old players, some of the old coaches. Chuck Ramsey happened to be there, I heard. So kind of a cool night from what I understand with some of the people that were out there. Also, non-conference game from Friday night. Dundee Crown beat Wakanda 57-45. Now, on Saturday, the NLCC back in action. And it was interesting games here, relatively close. No major surprises. Grays Lake North beat Antioch 50-46. Lakes over North Chicago on the road, believe it or not, 73-28. Lakes is on fire right now. And Grays Lake Central beat Round Lake 60-31. So, non-conference game, Carmel upended Marion Central 74-46. And at DePaul College Prep, which used to be Gordon Tech years ago, they had the Steve Pappas reunion games. They had a bunch of games like shootout, and Lake Forest got a chance to play DePaul College Prep. DePaul College Prep beat Lake Forest 51-45. So that'll tell you something on that. I do want to make mention for the games that are coming up this week. Grays Lake Central and Lakes are playing each other on Wednesday night. I'm a little bit interested in this matchup between the two teams. Also, there are some matchups on the boys' side. I thought I saw Stevenson and Libertyville coming up on Saturday night on Martin Luther King weekend. So kind of the leaders of the pack in both conferences going against one another. And it should be kind of interesting. Kind of a light schedule a little bit this week. We got some games Tuesday and Wednesday with conference games in the North Suburban NLCC on both of those nights. Friday's going to have a relatively semi-quiet night. I think the NFC is going on Thursday because you're getting into Martin Luther King weekend. And there are some tournaments going on at Lakes, also at Deerfield and Lake Forest with some of our teams. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes. We'll try to get everybody accounted for when we get closer to Saturday. But let's take a look at records if you can right now, Carson, because you got the list, don't you?
Yep, and that Niles North game has some impact for the Central Suburban race. They're still 4-0 in conference. Remember, ever since Niles North has made it from Central Suburban League South to North, they've won that division every year so far. And that game was crucial to keep that pace going. So they're on top, 13-3, 4-0 in conference. Deerfield 10-4, 2-1 in conference. Vernon Hills right behind them, 7-10, 2-2. And then Maine East, and then Highland Park 4-12, 1-2, and then Maine West 3-14, still looking for their first win in conference there. Over in the North Suburban Conference, you alluded to that Stevenson versus Stevenson and Libertyville matchup. Both teams are undefeated in conference, and the top two teams in conference. Stevenson 12-2 overall, Libertyville 13-3 overall. Warren 8-7. They picked up their second win in conference this past weekend. They're tied though for third with Waukegan, who is 8-8 and shares the same conference record of 2-2. Lake Forest is also 2-2, 7-8 overall. Mundelein 6-8, 1-2 in conference. Lake Zurich 8-7 overall, 1-3 in conference. Like you said, Zion winless overall at 0-13 as well as in conference play. Grays Lake Central 15-1. They and Lakes are the only unbeaten teams in conference play at 4-0. Lakes 11-4 in overall. Grant 5-9, 2-1. And I should mention the rest of the teams in the NLC or CC are below 500. Grays Lake North 6-9, 2-2 in conference. Wakanda 1-2, 7-7 in conference. 7-7 overall. Antioch 6-10 overall, 1-3 in conference. North Chicago 3-13, 1-3 in conference. And Round Lake still winless in conference play at 0-4, 1-15. And then shifting over to the East Suburban Catholic. You mentioned this, Rusty. Carmel still 0-7 in conference play, 7-13 overall. Bennett is the top team in that conference, who's 18-1, hasn't lost a conference game yet at 7-0. So, there's definitely exciting matchups, especially on the top side of the NLCC and the NSC. So, personally, in my opinion, even though I haven't seen them play yet in person, I still think Grays Lake Central might be the best team in Lake County, especially with that Barrington win that they had earlier.
No, I disagree with you.
That's your opinion, Russ. And that's your opinion, Russ.
I know, but we got to stay together on this here. You got to look at schedules. You got to look at everything. Grays Lake Central playing well.
Right.
But right now, if you look at the top 5 list, you got to look at it. Libertyville's got the better by a notch. It's pretty close 1A, 1B, but Grays Lake Central has played well. But you got to look at Libertyville beat in that Wheeling Hardwood tournament in comparison to what was at Jacobs.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we saw them perform well against Neuqua Valley and such, but I still think that Barrington win carries a lot of weight for Grays Lake Central.
Well, they were unbeaten, and the same thing goes to say that, the next night we saw Neuqua Valley.
Right.
They beat a team that was unbeaten as well. They beat Glumberg North, which has been really good to this point. So I don't disagree on that, but they're 1A, 1B. But you've got, at this point on the top 5, you've got Libertyville, Grays Lake Central, Stevenson. Those are our 3 best teams.
Right.
Then you got Deerfield and Lakes. I mean, Lakes could be above Deerfield at this point, but based on schedule, I'm going to give Deerfield the nod on this. But Lakes have been playing really well. They've put together, 8 or 9 wins at this point. But they didn't play in a holiday tournament at all, but they got to a win over Carmel this past week in overtime. So we'll give a little bit of a nod on that situation. So we need to take a break. Did you know that? I do. I knew that. And I got one thing to talk about, and that's going to be girls basketball when we come back. Maybe 2 things, 3 things, 3 teams, 4 teams. We'll get a little clapping on this. But there are some teams ready to play against one another. We talked about the boys, but how about the girls? Cats and Patriots this week. I'm looking forward to this, but there are some good girls teams playing some good competition. We're going to hear from Ashley Graham from Stevenson when we come back here on the Lake County Sports Scoop.
I can make your hands clap. Said I can make your hands clap. Somebody sing it.
WRLR 98.3 FM.
Email from school about the incident today.
Scary.
Tell me about it. Did you have any idea that was going on?
None. I mean, you saw Derek at the game last night, too. Did you have a clue?
No, but teachers like me, parents, we don't always know as much as you guys do. Kids hear first about what's going on with other kids.
Half the time, it's rumors.
It can be hard to tell sometimes, but if you're ever concerned about a friend who's having trouble with alcohol, prescription drugs, bullying, violence, anything, you need to tell an adult. Mom or me, a teacher, coach, school counselor, someone you know and trust.
Dad, no kid is gonna tell an adult about that kind of stuff.
I get it, but if we don't know, we can't help. Speaking up about a problem, that's what helping a friend is all about.
For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Hey everyone, it's Norm. And every Tuesday afternoon, 3 to 5 Central, I'm coming right at you here on WRLR. Let's share some information. Have lots of fun. We'll play plenty of music as we finish the business day in the office or take the drive home. Stream the net, WRLR.fm. 98.3 FM is the voice of Lake County on the radio dial. Join Norm Tuesdays, 3 to 5, right here on WRLR.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. Maybe you're not sure how you'll make rent, or you lost your job. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light. Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need.
211, how can I help you?
Call or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected. Get help. A message from United Way and the Ad Council.
Tune in every Monday night at 7 p.m. right here on WRLR 98.3 FM. I'm Marty Love, the host with Master Happiness.
And I'm not alone.
You're not?
I am not. I'm here with my bestest buddy, Tiffany. There you go.
We've all got reasons to be scared, angry, or sad. Happiness is outnumbered 3 to 1. Give us a little bit of your time, and we'll see if we can give you a reason to smile. That's Bacon Bits with Master Happiness, Monday nights at 7 p.m.
Isn't it nice?
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, grown-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have any body to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
WRLR 98.3 FM.
In the dark, it's raining in the park.
Welcome back to the Lake County Sports Scoop for a Monday evening. Second Monday of the new year. And I'm excited for this. I mean, we're back at school. Most people are by today. And let's welcome in the Stevenson girls. Varsity head coach and Ashley Graham. How you doing, Ashley?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing right. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Are you back at school today?
So we had an institute day, and yes, we are back at school as teachers, but the students start tomorrow.
Wait a minute, the kids got another day off? Do they need an extra day?
You know what? It's a great teacher work day to get organized in preparation for them, and just saw our kids at practice, and I think they were still pretty happy about the day off.
I was going to say, I felt like we were missing something all last week. There wasn't much basketball. There wasn't much sports going on. I felt like we could have gone back to school last week on Monday, but that's the way the schedule kind of dictated this year. A little bit different.
Yeah, totally.
So, well, let me ask you this. You didn't take much time away from the holiday break. I mean, you girls were playing basketball and playing some very good basketball. You went 6-1 during that time. And you got to be pretty happy the way the girls played during that span.
Yeah, I was really proud of them. We, obviously going into Dundee Crown, we knew there were some great teams. And I think we were, just a little bit over 500 at that time. And, looking forward, we just talked about just taking one game at a time, and we are excited for the opportunities to compete with these great teams, and just really proud of the way we, competed over break. We had a tough game against Barrington. We were up by a pretty large margin and let that slip away a little bit, and we talked a lot after that game about being finishers and being closers, and we got into a close game, that fourth game, that third place game with Huntley, and we had to be and closers during that game, and we really grew in like a 24-hour span. And then we had 3 days, we gave them a couple days off, and then we had 3 back-to-back games, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and against some really good competition, and again became finishers and closers, and learning to close out games is hard and easier said than done. It's hard to come up with that in practice, and to have Ava Bardick and Simone Sawyer as our closers for 4 years, and then being gone, we've had to learn and grow up a lot, and I feel like we've really hit our stride. So super proud of them. It was a great break for us.
Mm-hmm. So you're sitting at 14-6 right now. When you look back at all these games, and I know it's a tough schedule, and I understand that, but I was going to ask here, like, how much do you get the feeling that maybe you have targets on your back because this is the reigning champions of Class 4A, Stevenson, and you get that feeling that teams are trying to beat you every night?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so many good rivalries and obviously such good teams in the NSC, but in terms of, the states and, after obviously you win it, there's a certain expectation that maybe people have of you and want to beat you because of it. And we understand that and we welcome that. I think I always say to our kids, you earn the target on the back. That's what you work every single day for is to want that target and be the target, right? That means that you've done the right things and done it the right way and have achieved some success. So we're proud to have that. And it's kind of a badge of honor, right? And so you've just got to learn to embrace it and handle that kind of pressure. And we talk about that all the time, and just putting one foot in front of the other and being the best version of yourself every single night. And again, that's hard to do, but that's something we're striving for every day. So, we definitely understand that.
Ashley, I know you were part of the Grow for the Game tournament. I really liked the way that was put together. What were your thoughts about not only the tournament, what it meant, and what did it mean for the girls taking part in it?
Yeah, it's so well run. It was so exciting. I can't say enough great things about our athletic director, Trish Bedhauser, for hosting some of those games because, one of the creators, Terry Rogers, obviously New Trier Gym is under construction. So we were so, fortunate that she asked us and we held 7 great games and our athletic department did a terrific job. But it just means a lot. It's such a cool experience for the kids and to see so many female coaches and then the officials and the officiating crew. It's just an exciting time. And then we got to play such a cool game at North Central in such a historic gym on a college court. That's always fun. But it means a lot. And talking to our kids about Title IX and where we've been and where we are and where we want to go, it's just a real cool thing to be a part of. And we were just honored to be able to host one of the days.
Coach, this is Carson. I see that you guys play Libertyville this coming week. What are some challenges that you as a team are preparing for when going up against Emily Fisher as well as the Rule Sisters that Libertyville provides?
Yeah, I mean, what a great team and what a great season that they've been having. So your question was, what do we do and how do we do it? We do the best we can. We talk a lot about, their strengths and their weaknesses, and they don't have a lot of weaknesses, but where we can, defensively hopefully disrupt or cause some problems in their offensive schemes and systems, and then what we want to do to be efficient offensively and how they play us defensively. But there are a ton. But, you just have to be ready, be prepared, and know player personnel. And I think our kids do a really good job at scouting and understanding the personnel, and we do a good job in the film room. So, with that, it's hard to defend such a great team, but we do our best with our defensive schemes, to kind of restrict some of their strengths.
Coach, you mentioned they're great personnel. Who are maybe some players that you're looking forward to seeing step up in that matchup that you've maybe seen take a role so far this season on your side?
Yeah, so, we all know Emery is back and Kate's back and Nisha's back, but really those kids, people forget. So, we only lost 2 starters, but we lost 2 4-year starters, 1,000-point scorers, and those 3 kids were defended a lot differently than they are this year. And, people weren't able to double or triple team us because those kids were so good from the outside. Everybody had to play us, individually. So kids that just have stepped up. I mean, I can't say enough about Nisha Musanuri as a sophomore. Every single game, really just getting better and better. And the more that she's on the court, the better she gets, the more experience she gets. She's been doing a really nice job handling the ball. And offensively, I mean, she's so smooth, and she's been a ton. She has a really high ceiling. So I've been really proud of her growth. I enjoy, just watching her play. And then obviously we know what Kate and Emery bring, but even more this year because there was a lot of focus on Ava and Simone last year. So it's exciting to see their growth offensively. Kendall's been doing just a tremendous job, this last 2 weeks defensively. Probably the best defense I've ever seen her play. And then Bree Welter, she has come such a long way from the start of the year and really understood her role. And she's been doing a great job of the offensive and defensive boards for us. But really, kids, this is such a close-knit group, and they are not just taking good shots, they're finding great shots for their teammates. And where do we want the ball? We talk a lot about that. We're shooting an extremely high percentage. And whose hands do we want the ball in? So they've sacrificed good shots for great shots. We've really, put in a way different system than we had last year based on our strengths and our needs and our personnel. And I feel like just, at Christmas time, it's just taken off. And it's been exciting to see their growth. I give them a lot of credit.
Mm-hmm. Coach, I read a couple articles in the last week, and I don't know if this is good, if you want this really out there, but they're starting to talk about that Emily Klatt could be one of the best post players in the state of Illinois. I don't know if you've seen some of these articles or not, but what's your thoughts about that?
So, obviously I believe it. I love that kid. Emery's ceiling is so high because she might not necessarily grow high, more than she is at 6'1". She might be done growing. But the reason her ceiling's so high is because of that kid's mentality and work ethic. Her relentlessness, and I feel like that just shows up in a crazy way statistically when you look at her rebounds, right? Like the ball doesn't just fall in her hands. She has to go get the ball, both offensively and defensively, and she's averaging a double-double. She has about 850 rebounds. The record was set by Taja Catchings, who was just under 1,200 rebounds. And when you think about that, and her ability to score 1,000 points as a junior, as a post player, and not really having a COVID season her freshman year, just having 17 games, and then doing what she's doing on the boards and almost getting close to 1,000, and then hopefully one day surpassing 1,000. Mm-hmm. That's all. That's work ethic. That's being in the gym. That's being relentless in her pursuit to just be the very best she can be offensively and defensively. And she's grown so much in her game from her freshman year to now. She works at it. So has she been gifted, physically? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But man, that works at it. And so she's one of the scariest people definitely in Illinois. Because when a kid has talent, that's one thing. Mm-hmm. But when a kid works at that talent, that's a whole nother player. And she definitely falls in that category.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're looking forward to the matchup Friday night with Libertyville, but I can't help not to say this, but I did notice on the schedule there's a matchup with this team out of Carmel, and it's too bad it's not last year. We were talking about that. I remember we were about seeing a matchup between both of the teams for 2 state championships. It's a little late in a way, but it's kind of nice that Stevenson and Carmel are going to finally play each other.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I have so much respect for Ben. And what he has done and what he does, and how cool what their run meant to the high school and just Lake County last year. And we can never forget. I feel like Jordan Woods has been around for many more than 4 years, but we can never forget how talented she is and what she means to that team. And then the supporting cast. They did graduate a lot. So we're really excited for that opportunity. Our athletic directors and I felt like we put together a really strong schedule on purpose. This one, though, was scheduled, for us from, the Coach Kip Hoop Fest, and we're really excited for that matchup.
Now, where's this game at, and when is it exactly?
Yeah. So it's Coach Kip's Hoop Fest. It starts on Saturday, and there's a whole slew of games on Saturday at Montini. But our game is on Monday, MLK Day, at Bennett. So Montini and Bennett are the hosts, and we play at Bennett.
All right. I couldn't think it was Saturday or Monday, part of the big Hoop Fest.
Yeah. Right.
I really think that's going to be just as good as even Libertyville. I mean, you got a busy weekend ahead of you with these teams.
You know what? We were talking about that. Yep. So we play Waukegan tomorrow, and then we go into, a week filled with Libertyville and Lake Forest and Lake Zurich. We haven't even played Lake Forest yet. We play them twice this month, or twice in actually a matter of a couple weeks. So, we're just excited for these opportunities. And we all know that playing great opponents make us better. We were sitting at a little bit above 500 going into Christmas, but, our schedule was so strong, and I think that helped us. We had to face a little adversity, and we hadn't had to face adversity in a while, and it was good for our kids. They really are a joy to be around. They never put their heads down, and they kept marching on. And so it's been a good year, a really good year, a good group to be around.
I got one last question because we got a final minute with you here.
Yeah.
Where does the North Suburban sit in girls basketball? Is this one of the best conferences in the state? Because there's so much comparison.
No, there's no question. So I'm obviously biased. But when you go top to bottom, there's no question, right? Like let's go to AP polls. So Libertyville was in there, like Zurich's getting votes. Obviously Lake Forest, in 3A is probably getting votes, and they're doing tremendous. We're having a good run. Mundelein is doing a great job this year. Sarah's just done a tremendous job. And Warren and, Waukegan, Zion, who else am I forgetting, are just, every night, everybody's hungry for it. But yes, top to bottom, since I've been here, this is the best it's been.
All right. Well, Ashley Graham, we're going to see you on Friday night. This is our feature game of the week. We couldn't pass it up. Sorry.
Great. Yeah, no, we look forward to it, and then we'll see you then, Rusty, in Libertyville.
All right. Sounds great. Thanks a lot for coming on, and good luck this week, all right?
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me. Bye, guys.
All right. Ashley Graham joining with us, the reigning Class 4A state champions. Boy, they got a busy week ahead of them, and I can't wait for the game Friday because I know, and I know she's probably going to hear me say this, I know she's ready for the rematch because don't forget the last time Libertyville played Stevenson, and they beat them at Stevenson, I think by 20 points. So I know she's ready for that. She wants to get, the rematch for that situation. So it'll be quite interesting. Hey, Carson, top 5. I'm going to go through this for the girls because we got to run out of here shortly. But I think right now it is Libertyville that's at number 1. Number 2, you know who it is? Stevenson, right behind that.
And then is Carmel third?
Carmel is third. It's really, I'll tell you one thing, they battle between each other. Number 4, we're going to stick with Deerfield. And number 5, Lake Forest at this point. Even though Carmel had a tough loss over the break, though. Losing to Normal downstate, they're still not getting enough notoriety, and I think they deserve more credit than what they should get.
Do we have time to squeeze in some standings, Rusty?
Better be quick, because you got about a quick minute, and that's all you get.
Yikes. All right, so like Coach alluded to, Lake Zurich, top of the North Suburban, 14-3, 6-0 in conference. Libertyville right behind them, also unbeaten in conference, 15-2 overall. Stevenson, 14-6, 4-2 in conference, tied with Lake Forest, who's 13-6 overall. Warren, 8-9. We saw them play earlier, 3-4 in conference. Mundelein, 7-9, 2-4 in conference. Waukegan, 6-10, 1-6 in conference play. Zion, winless in conference, 1-17 overall. Then Grays Lake Central, still unbeaten in conference play there, and top there. And then Grays Lake North behind them. And then shifting over super quick to Central Suburban, Deerfield, unbeaten in conference play there. Their rivals, Vernon Hills, right behind them in second place. And Carmel, they're third in the East Suburban Catholic, but they still are 14-3 overall. They're just behind Nazareth Academy and Bennett Academy in the ESCC. Rusty, now you get to have some more fun with the great Ron Curtis Grace.
All right, that'll do. I want to thank Ashley Graham for coming on from Stevenson. Also got to thank Cody Mathias, the Stevenson boys bowling coach, and also thanks to Matt McCarty that was with us from last Friday. And I got to thank everyone else in the room, Rob Cartwright, our intern, and thank you, Carson.
Thank you, Rusty, and I'll see you on the Swamp Rat College segment this Saturday on the Sports Corner.
Yeah, and guess who's behind us, who's coming in? I hear his voice now. You know who might that be?
What song is he going to sing to next?
I don't know.
He's got a better singing voice than all of us combined. We break glass when we sing. When Ron sings, he mimics the artist.
All right, well.
I don't know if that's that big a compliment, but okay.
All right. Big show coming up next, right here on WRLR.
Man's got a problem. Yeah, but the bottle, that's the way it is. He says his body's too old.
You're listening to 98.3 FM, WRLR LP, Round Lake, Illinois.
WRLR is community radio.
I feel much more informed with what's happening today.
When we say community, we really mean it.
It's not like corporate, and it's just a good station, yeah?
We don't belong to some large corporation that makes a profit from this station.
Because I like the diversity.
And listeners won't be forced to listen to large blocks of advertising. Operations at community radio stations are made possible through grants and underwriting from companies within this area of operation, and donations, funds, and equipment, services, and time from area residents who volunteer their time to get involved.
It's as if it's my next door neighbor talking to me, only instead of next door to me.
Real people just like you.
I like them. They tell it like it is.
Local focus, local news, local music, of the local people, and by the local people.
It's different than the rest of the stuff I hear.
I love the show. I listen every day.
WRLR.